How is a military startup founded less than a decade ago now worth $60 billion? It has no fighter jets in service, no decades-long history, no Cold War legacy, and yet it's already beating America's largest defense contractors, companies that have dominated warfare for generations. Because this startup is different. It's not building traditional weapons, it's building autonomous ones. Weapons powered by artificial intelligence, software that controls entire battlefields. And now the US government is helping companies like this take market share away from legacy giants. This isn't just a startup success story, it is the biggest shift in military power in decades. And aside from having the potential to reshape the entire defense industry, it could also reshape your investment portfolio based on an expected high-profile IPO. Coming up, we'll explain all of that. But first, a reminder to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our business and investing videos. Okay, let's start with how we got here. For decades, warfare was controlled by a handful of companies, businesses that built machines few others could create. And arguably the most powerful companies of them all, Lockheed Martin, the business behind the F-35 fighter jet, one of the most expensive weapon systems ever created, fueling a financial juggernaut, with Lockheed Martin now generating $75 billion in revenue each year. Now, most of that comes directly from the US government, its main customer. And Lockheed isn't alone. There are 4 other companies that have traditionally dominated the defense industry. Together, these companies controlled the future of warfare for decades. But that dominance created a problem. These giants became slow. Now remember, the defense industry was not built for speed, it was built for scale. The F-35 speaks to that scale. But as impressive as it is, it's also a program that began more than 2 decades ago, which means that even with constant upgrades, it's tough to match modern tech, because we all know the world of technology moves fast. Silicon Valley software companies build products in months, not decades, and with AI, timelines are moving even faster. At the same time, the legacy defense contractors found themselves catering to Wall Street, increasingly returning billions of dollars to shareholders by buying back their stock. And yes, that pleased a lot of investors, but that was money going out the door, capital that could have fueled innovation. Instead, with warfare changing, it increasingly created risks for the industry leaders and opportunity for the next generation. In 2017, a 24-year-old entrepreneur named Palmer Luckey started a new defense company. Even at that young age, Luckey had already built a billion-dollar company, Oculus VR. That business, which he launched as a teenager, was sold to Facebook for $2 billion. His new company, though, would be very different. He called it Anduril, named after a signature sword from Lord of the Rings. And from the start, Anduril wasn't building traditional weapons, it was building autonomous ones. Weapons powered by software, powered by artificial intelligence. This approach gave Anduril a structural advantage. It could innovate faster than legacy contractors. Now, at the center of Anduril's business is a software platform called Lattice. Lattice connects drones, sensors, and weapons, all into a single AI-powered network. It can detect threats automatically, track targets automatically, and respond automatically. This makes warfare faster, more efficient, and cheaper. And it allows Anduril to win contracts, outmuscling traditional defense contractors. In 2023, Anduril was tapped to develop autonomous air defense systems for the US military. And that's just one example. It operates autonomous towers on the US-Mexico border, AI-powered sensor networks on Navy ships, and drone surveillance for multiple military test exercises. Because the core of Anduril's advantage is not hardware, it's software. Software can be updated instantly, improved continuously, scaled globally. Anduril can move faster than legacy contractors, win new contracts, ultimately outpacing the old defense giants. And now, investors want a piece of the action. So let's talk about Anduril's valuation, which has exploded. In 2020, the company's valuation doubled to $1.9 billion. By 2025, it had surged to $30 billion. And now it is reportedly exceeding $60 billion. That growth is helped in part by tracking the company's sales. Revenue hit roughly $1 billion in 2024, and the company said it had roughly doubled to $2 billion last year in 2025. How? Well, it's selling gear for a new era, marked in particular by a shift to drones. For decades, military power depended on expensive machines. Fighter jets costing tens of millions of dollars, aircraft carriers costing billions. But autonomous drones are changing the equation. They're cheaper, faster, and scalable. The war in Ukraine proved it. Drones became one of the most important weapons on the battlefield. Companies like Anduril are leading this shift, and Uncle Sam is taking notice. This year, the U.S. government took an unprecedented step that began pressuring defense contractors to prioritize innovation over shareholder returns. Executives were warned excessive stock buybacks could limit future contracts, and the new generation saw that as a huge opportunity. Remember, startups are faster, more flexible, more innovative. And so for the first time in decades, legacy contractors faced real competition, and Silicon Valley had its checkbook ready. Venture capital has been pouring into defense startups. Couple that with all the geopolitical jitters tied to the New World Order, and global defense spending is expected to reach $2.6 trillion this year, the highest level ever recorded, with software now the most important weapon. Just as software transformed finance, transportation, communication, it's now transforming warfare, with companies like Anduril sitting at the center of the shift. That's not to say legacy contractors no longer have scale, they do, and infrastructure, and government relationships. But again, they were built for hardware, not software. Software, which moves faster. And on today's battlefield, speed matters more than size. In business, the winner isn't the company with the biggest factory, it's the company with the best technology. So to recap, the reality for decades was that defense was dominated by industrial giants. But now, software is replacing hardware, startups are replacing incumbents, and artificial intelligence is reshaping warfare. So much so that the next Lockheed Martin may already be here. It just may look more like a startup. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like this video and to subscribe so you don't miss our next business breakdown of companies reshaping the global economy.